I'm going to help Baker out because I've been around this league, and as a player in this league, I've made a number of mistakes. And one of the big mistakes that I made, I didn't even know what I was doing. It was actually just in the heat of battle. We were playing San Francisco, a big game. Jerry Rice went off like normal on a Monday night. But at the end of the game, we couldn't stop J.J. Stokes and Terrell Owens. And I had a good game. I think Jerry Rice and myself, we scored 6 touchdowns between the two of us. But my comments saying we should have won that game because we had shut Jerry down, we can't allow these other guys to beat it. I didn't even say their names. And Terrell Owens, to this day, does not like me for that fact. And it taught me a valuable lesson. Like, this is a really, really small fraternity. We're celebrating our 100th year of football in the NFL, and there's only been 25,000 men that have ever played this game. Only 12,000 have played more than 4 years. So it's a really, really small thing. So what I have learned, and Baker is right in this, it is so hard to evaluate the quarterbacks, and we miss more on quarterbacks than anything else. Yes, he's right about that. But I'm going to help him. Don't evaluate players in the league while you're in the league. For one is because you don't know them. You don't know enough about watching tape and how people evaluate them. And if you were following scouting, you would have known that Daniel Jones was high on the Giants list. Now, did we think they should take him? No, we thought they should take Haskins first, but being shocked that they took him, no, because we heard leading up to the draft they were in love with the kid. And take my advice, I learned from it, and I don't know if I've missed out on anything in life with T.O. not liking me or anything. That's up for debate, but it doesn't make sense. I could understand why he would take it personal. A Pro Bowl player, wide receiver, saying something derogatory he took that I was saying about him that he wasn't good. They were young then. He wasn't a Hall of Famer then.
A lot of players have said that's almost cliche now for players to say we can't let the other guys beat it. So I'm not sure you said anything wrong, especially when he wasn't T.O. at that point.
But
you know what I mean?
If you're making comments about another player in your league, you should be respect. First of all, it should be like out of respect because it's only a few guys who can make it. And then it should be, I think he's good or I think he's great. It shouldn't be anything else. When you hear Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, you can learn so much just about everything. Watch how they comment about the players. Everyone's great to them. Everyone's good to them. And that's the way it should be. It's hard enough doing what we do after playing, evaluating players. I know it's impossible to evaluate players while you're still playing the game, Chris.
Yes, CC, when you start talking about other people's players in a negative sense, it's usually bad practice, and it comes back to bite you. So that's a good piece of advice that Baker Mayfield probably needs to take from you if he's watching our show. But yesterday when this news broke, when I heard the initial comments, it felt like it was Baker Mayfield's way of supporting his teammate Odell Beckham Jr. by being critical of what the Giants were doing. You know what I'm saying? And, of course, it's an easy target to talk about the Giants taking Daniel Jones at number 6. It was a move that surprised a lot of media members. It surprised a lot of people around the National Football League. It was one of those things where, okay, this is a little hard for us to understand when the team is talking about competing and trying to be better than they were the previous 2 seasons. And then, of course, you make the decision to trade Odell Beckham Jr. to Cleveland. Like, it's just one of those things that OBJ still feels a way about. And then, of course, Baker Mayfield understanding that, knowing that he's going to need Odell Beckham Jr. this season, this was his way to come out and have his back. But then, when he came out with that retraction of sorts on social media, that's the part of it that I quite didn't understand, because Baker Mayfield, one thing that we can say about him, he's been himself unapologetically since he's been in the public eye, since he took over the starting job as the quarterback of Oklahoma. So that's why I'm a little bit confused about him putting that statement out there on social media after the GQ article wrote. Because, I mean, I don't think we're in a position we question the reporter from GQ and whether or not that's actual Baker Mayfield's words. I think that's exactly what he said. But I think once Baker saw the context that it was in within the article, that's what he took offense to. It came out a little harsh, and I think that's one of the things that kind of surprised a lot of folks, which is why Baker tried to walk it back a little bit.
The last sentence you quoted Baker saying, you got to win. This is what I'll say to him. You better win. I mean, when you come out talking like this, we know all the things he's done in the past. But now you start talking like this, you better win. If he wins, and I agree with you guys, at some point it may come back to haunt him. But if he wins, in a lot of the public's eyes, they'll see him as, oh, he broke the mold. That's just who he is. He's brash. He's showing you can win like that and, you know, being a quarterback and speaking your mind. And I get why he did it, or, you know, just because that's what he's always done. That's what's worked for him. This is a guy that was ranked 160th in Texas as a high school senior, okay?
Yeah.
This is a guy that was a walk-on at Texas Tech, a walk-on at Oklahoma. Too short to be in the NFL, some people say.
Him and his dad almost got into a fist fight because his dad told him he needs to go to a certain school, and Baker was like, no, I need to go to another school, and that interaction there. So, yes.
Right. So that he looks at it like, I've always been bucking the trends. I've always been different, and it's worked for me. And until he's humbled, until someone proves him differently, he's probably going to be this way. And the fact is, he's just straight up wrong. I mean, number one, we've seen Daniel Jones look pretty good in preseason.
Yeah.
Number two, Daniel Jones was 17-19 at Duke. Pat Mahomes was 13-16 at Texas Tech. You know, John Elway, 15-18 at Stanford. So guys have shown that if they didn't win in college, that doesn't necessarily mean they're not going to win in the NFL.
Well, Baker Mayfield, he was a winner at the collegiate level, but now as he enters this season, what do you need to see out of Baker, and what are your expectations for what he could be here with the Browns?
Well, for one, when you start making comments like this, and Canty and I were talking this morning, and we probably came up with the figure between 3 to 5 years you start to understand the league. And so you start to understand what people are trying to do, or start to understand the characteristics of your position and the best way to try to have success in your career. For Baker Mayfield, he has to realize he's got great weapons around him. He has to make sure they protect that offensive line. If you want to talk about the way they can have a bad season, that offensive line not play to the way they played last year, them start throwing the ball 50 times a game, trying to please all their wide receivers and get away from Chubb and Hunt when he comes back running the football. So for me, it's about leadership. He can flat out throw the football. He has amazing timing. He can throw any throw on the field. He has a great feel for the game. He has unusual leadership skills, like being vocal and like unusual. I haven't seen many college quarterbacks. Go back and watch some of the YouTube videos. Baker Mayfield, and they got rap music on, and Baker's dancing. They got these little chants, and the whole team is involved. And I've seen it in the Cleveland locker room last year. I covered them doing a game. So continuing being the type of leader because I think the stats will be there. Because he's got weapons. He got a tight end. He got 3 receivers at least. He got 2 running backs, and the offensive line was good. And I believe that Freddie Kitchens is an NFL head coach. So for me, that day-to-day, how I'm going to lead these guys, and the critical moment's going to be, what does he do when they have a bad month? I know what Brady do. I know what Rodgers do. I know what the Drew Brees. I know what they do. Matty Ice. What is Baker Mayfield going to do? Because you're going to have a bad month. What type of leader is he going to be? Because he's always going to be a leader. Now, is he going to be pulling for good or pulling the team in a negative spot?
And that's the one thing that we have to see, and I think that's the area where he's going to have to grow. One thing that we all can't deny is that Baker Mayfield has been an agent of change for the Cleveland Browns. See, I came in the Friday after he came in the second half of that Thursday night game against the Jets, and we were just talking about how the team played with a different energy in that second half and on into the later parts of that game, and Baker Mayfield was able to come up with the win. That was their first win of the season. It ends up being a part of 7 wins that Baker Mayfield had in his rookie campaign. So, I mean, when you take into consideration that this was a franchise that had a grand total of 1 win in the 2 seasons prior to Baker Mayfield getting there, you can understand why people are so optimistic about what's going on with the Cleveland Browns. Baker Mayfield is a leader. It's no doubt that those guys respond to him in the locker room, but he's just got to understand the platform that he has and understand how he needs to use it in order to be effective and have his team in position where they can be consistently competitive.
Also, Sheldon Richardson, I saw a soundbite of him. He had said where he had talked to Baker about some of the comments that Baker had made about Duke Johnson.
Right.
So for me, you have to realize, as a football team, you rally around your players, even if they're right, even if they're wrong. So don't think in that locker room there's going to be a problem with Baker Mayfield. But behind the scenes, they have had veterans who have been trying to help him with little things like that.
All right. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.